My job is to prepare students for real-life careers right out of high school. Stukent has been one of the biggest resources I use in my high school classrooms. In fact, it's my favorite thing to use in my personal finance classes and marketing classes. This has allowed students to become creative. It's allowed me as an educator to help them understand certain concepts in a way that they didn't see before. As of right now in high school, my favorite product to teach is personal finance. And it gives students the access to real-life bank accounts. It gives them access to buy cars. It gives them access to buy homes. It gives access to buy stocks and so many other things that as a high school student, I never had access to. For the first time ever in a classroom, you get to buy your test grades. It becomes a competition in the classroom among students. They work on assignments in my classroom that I call extra money assignments. And so I have in my Google Classroom hundreds of assignments that they can do that I'll pay them for instead of giving them a grade. We just started selling cars this week for this term. I put a car that costs only $8,500. In the fine print, I said it was a branded title, and the insurance price was $9,000. But this student had a real-life opportunity to realize, hey, just because a car is a really good price doesn't mean that it financially is the right choice, because as soon as she bought that car, she realized, oh my goodness, my insurance price on this is $9,000. She came up to me and said, hey, Mr. Benson, I make a deal with you. Could I do this paper and write this paper about branded titles and give a presentation to the class to make it so my insurance payment goes down? I said, I love that. We'll make that happen. So she's creating a PowerPoint presentation about branded title vehicles, the pros and cons, and she's going to present that to the class next week. So for me, I felt like it was a no-brainer. Plus, I have a computer lab in my classroom, and it just felt like it was the necessary thing to do. Plus, Stukent has started to do the learning management system integration. That typical week of prep for a new term is a couple of hours. You just copy stuff over, and you just get the kids set up for the next class. And it's really just cut down the amount of paper that we have in the classroom. It makes it so kids can access their homework at home, or they can access their materials on their cell phones on the bus. It's just a lot easier for students to have access to knowledge. So it was a no-brainer.
ProfCon has been amazing. Like from the beginning, they started out with a bang. This thing has been interactive. There's an energy in the room. This is not a boring conference. Like I'm learning and it's interesting and fun. It's great. One other thing, I've been to academic conferences where it felt like the instructors weren't really there to learn things to apply in the classroom, but these instructors, like they're like-minded people. They're there to pick up new tips. They're interacting with each other. We're talking, we're trading stories. So this is a really lively and fun conference to be at. When is ProfCon next year? Seriously, when is ProfCon next year? I'm coming to ProfCon.
We always write stuff with the student in mind, knowing that there's a student at the end of it whose study was made easier because we were able to explain it well. And we're able to explain it well because we've spent 60 years combined doing it. Hi, I'm Jim Stice.
Hi, I'm Kay Stice. Together, we are the Stice Brothers.
This is a momentous day in the history of Stukent. Accounting courseware, I never would have thought when I started Stukent that we would go there. But our mission is help educators, help students, help the world. And so I couldn't be more excited to sign this contract with the Stices as our first accounting authors.
Stu, it's our pleasure. This is exciting for us.
Yeah!
Well, the fun thing about Stukent is, I think together we've probably taught in person 20,000 students, maybe 25. That's a lot.
In person.
In
That's
person.
a lot.
Face to face. But the online environment, that's, well, with the online stuff that we've already done, we taught 3 million people. So the footprint of people that you can address through online teaching like Stukent does, to me, that's exciting.
The simulation is going to help students in the trenches say, oh, I get this.
Because it helps the students see, okay, here's what you're learning in your textbook, but here's what a real person would do in the real world and how they would use this information.
We want to help the instructor create a better learning environment for students. Our objective is to help students come to class excited to learn from you.
We're not writing a textbook for you. This is a course. This is a turnkey course. We're helping the instructor. Here's the whole package. Stu, on behalf of the Stice Brothers, just thanks for letting us be part of the Stukent team. We think that what you're doing here and the passion in your group, this is going to be a force for good in education.
You're watching this video because you've seen Stukent before. We've innovated for educators like you. We've stayed focused on our mission to help educators, help students, help the world. We got our start with just a digital marketing courseware and simulation. Now we have dozens of first-in-the-world simulations and courseware. We now have an 80-page catalog worth of sims, courseware, and resources. Just in the last 6 months, we've began supporting educators in the following subjects: SEO, name, image, and likeness, sports marketing, intro to business, integrated marketing communications, services marketing, media planning, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, crisis communication, and business communication. That's just this year, and later this year, you'll see several additional subjects added as well. Our innovations aren't just with new courseware and simulations though. We've improved our level of ADA compliance, our LMS integrations, auto-grading, our e-reader functionality, our assignments, and real-world projects for your students too. We're really growing up, right? 8.5 years old to be exact. In dog years, that makes us like 55 or something. Don't check my math on that. Who knows what that translates to in software years, but that's a really long time. For an ed tech company especially. It's kind of like we've gone from cute toddler to adorable kid, and we're probably somewhere in the tween years now, braces and all. Not the most flattering stage, but the best is yet to come, and we can't do it without you. Thank you so much for everything you do to help your students. We want to help them with you. So connect with us today, go to the website and check it out.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our public speaking and business communications event. My name is Paul Cotter, and I'm the Director of Product Marketing for Higher Education at Stukent. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today. As we begin, I want to encourage you to use the chat feature. Go ahead and start by sharing where you're from. Tell us which courses you're currently teaching. If you have questions about our public speaking or communications material, feel free to type them in the chat. Our amazing team is standing by to answer your questions throughout this event. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end. Oh, and this goes without saying, but please be respectful and polite when commenting. We want this event to be enjoyable for everyone. Additionally, we'd love to hear your thoughts, so please participate in the polls throughout today's event. Over the last decade, Stukent has developed more than 30 courseware and simulations in the marketing, business, and communication spaces. And we're not stopping there. We promise to innovate and develop materials in new subjects and categories. Our mission is to help you help your students help the world. We do that by developing robust, first-in-the-world resources that reduce your preparation time and bring high-quality educational experiences into your classroom. In addition to public speaking and business communications, Stukent also provides material for public relations, crisis communication, media planning, advertising, business writing, and personal branding. I'm excited to share that Stukent has new resources coming for the communications curricula this year, including PR writing, PR case studies, advertising campaigns, advanced business writing, and so much more. As you can see, we're committed to creating exceptional materials to help you elevate your students' educational experiences. But let's get back to today. We have a great event planned for you. To kick things off, I'd like to introduce Stukent's CEO and founder, Stuart Draper. He's here to share a few thoughts with you.
At Stukent, we're on a mission to help educators help students help the world. We do that by developing first-in-the-world simulations and up-to-date courseware to help you create impactful, hands-on learning experiences for your students. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the amazing resources our team has built for the courses that you teach. We've spent months creating these materials with our authors and our subject matter experts, working to build the best possible materials for you. But you know what? At Stukent, we're never quite finished with the resources we release. They're ready for use in your classroom, yes, but we're always working to make them better. We strive to keep our materials current with what's happening in your industry today, which means we update them annually and take the work of keeping your course current. If there's something you don't like about our materials, or if there's something you think we can improve upon, please let us know. We're here for you. Consider us your custom simulation and courseware provider. If we don't make it just the way you need it, we'll keep working on it to make it better. Semester after semester, we aim to bring you the best simulations and courseware in the industry, and we're not going anywhere. Over the last decade, we've been featured on the Inc. 5000 list 5 times. We've helped nearly 750,000 students at schools all over the country, and we can't wait to help you and your students next. That's why I'm thrilled to introduce 2 amazing bundles for your communications courses today. The first is the Public Speaking Simulation and Courseware Bundle, which helps you empower your students to speak confidently in any situation. And the second is the Business Communication Bundle, which gives you great tools to prepare your students to move from your classroom into their future careers. We built these resources to make your job a little easier and your students' jobs a lot more engaging. These bundles put powerful, time-saving teaching resources into your hands. You'll get detailed lesson plans, lecture slide decks, auto-graded assessments, and more. The simulations provide your students with the kind of homework they want to do and that I wish I had had as a student. Stukent simulations are immersive, hands-on experiences that help your students build marketable skills that last a lifetime. Today, we're going to show you everything that you and your students will love about this bundle. You'll get to meet the authors and subject matter experts for the courseware and take a tour of the simulations with the Stukent team. Throughout the event, feel free to chat in any questions you may have. The Stukent team will be standing by to help you. Thank you for joining us today. I can't wait to show you what our team has built to help you help students help the world. Enjoy the show.
As Stuart pointed out, we're excited to show you the public speaking simulation. This simulation is the perfect complement to our new courseware, Public Speaking, Learning to Share with Confidence and Purpose by author Tara Williams. The public speaking simulation gives you a tool to empower your students and help them become confident public speakers. Over the course of 11 rounds, your students will ideate, compose, and record various types of presentations and speeches. It not only gives students the opportunity to practice the skills you're teaching them, but it also collects their video presentations in one place, making it easy for you to review their work. Students will get the experience they need to succeed, while you get more time to do the things that matter most. It's a classic win-win situation. Here at Stukent, we believe that lasting learning comes from hands-on experience. Our simulations reinforce student knowledge, giving them the opportunity to experiment with the concepts they're learning in your classroom. A Stukent simulation is the homework your students want to do. And best of all, it doesn't create additional work for you. Our simulations are loaded with time-saving features for educators, including auto-grading, LMS integration, individualized student feedback, and so much more. A Stukent simulation won't teach your course for you, but it's a powerful tool to reinforce learning for a lifetime. But don't take it from me. Allow me to introduce you to Garrett Brock, our Vice President of Marketing. He's going to walk you through our innovative and exciting public speaking simulation.
Thanks, Paul. I am so excited to show you the Stukent public speaking simulation. Today, we're going to take a tour of the instructor resources that will make your job a little easier and show you all of the features that get your students excited about the concepts you're teaching them. We built the public speaking simulation to supplement what you're teaching in the classroom and to empower your students to become confident public speakers. At Stukent, innovation is at the heart of everything we do. Our mission is to create products and solutions that not only benefit educators and students, but also have a positive impact on the world. We assemble top-notch teams of engineers, innovators, academic partners, and industry leaders to achieve this goal. Together, we develop the best possible simulations and courseware for your students. In 2021, the Journal of Academic Business Education noted a clear correlation between the use of simulations and student satisfaction. Stukent simulations make it easy for you to be everyone's favorite professor. They not only cement student learning for a lifetime, but they also give students the hands-on experience they need to succeed in the workforce from day one. If you have used a Stukent simulation before, you know it provides a realistic, hands-on experience for your students. The public speaking simulation is no exception. Over 11 rounds, your students will ideate, outline, research, and record various types of speeches. As students play through the interactive storyline, they will develop an engaging, well-researched presentation intended for a professional audience. The simulation helps to reinforce the concepts in your curriculum, giving your students a comprehensive understanding of public speaking strategies and techniques. They will also learn how to analyze their audiences and deliver powerful, relevant speeches. Before we jump into the simulation, let's take a quick look at how it can help you. The public speaking simulation includes a lot of great features to help you keep your course on track with less hassle and less stress. Did you know that all of Stukent's simulations are fully integrated with major learning management systems such as Canvas, Blackboard, and Moodle? with D2L Brightspace and Schoology integrations coming soon? LMS integration includes great features such as single sign-on, gradebook syncing, rostering, and deep linking. It's easy to integrate our simulations with your current platform, and our team is here to assist you every step of the way. Let's take a closer look at the public speaking simulation itself. Inside the instructor portal, you will have multiple features to help you navigate and manage your course. First, you will see your students' results. Once you're here, click a student's name to find both the KPIs and the feedback the students received in the simulation. This is a powerful tool for working one-on-one with your students. Under the Student Results tab, you can easily reset around if you need to grant an accommodation to a student. We know accommodations are important for quizzes and tests, so we want to empower you as the instructor to grant them in the simulation. Your Stukent Customer Success Manager will provide you with a course invite link to share with your students. If you integrate your Stukent materials with your LMS provider, you can use the single sign-on process from your LMS to access your course materials. You will be able to see exactly how many students are enrolled in your class, as well as those who still need to pay for their materials. You can also set up a separate course for yourself as the instructor, which allows for you to share your results tab without the fear of sharing your students' names or scores. Instructors using Stukent simulations love the ability to pace the simulation with their course. It is easy to create a start date for each round of the simulation, which allows students to absorb the concepts from the courseware and your lectures before starting a round. This sets up your students for success in the simulation, as they won't be seeing the concepts or vocabulary for the first time. Under the Resources tab, you'll notice the Public Speaking Simulation Instructor Guide. This guide provides all the information you need, including simulation setup and structure, round overviews, evaluation methods, and frequently asked questions. With this comprehensive document, you'll be prepared to introduce the simulation to your students. You can unlock the full potential of Stukent's courseware with the support of our dedicated team. In addition to the instructor portal and the resources provided, you'll be assigned a personal customer success manager. Their goal is to ensure that you feel comfortable using our platform, whether it's through training, onboarding calls, or brainstorming ideas to make your experience even better. Your CSM is your go-to contact at Stukent, available to assist you at any time. Your students will also have access to our highly rated virtual TAs. Our virtual TAs are industry leaders in student support, boasting a 96% customer satisfaction rating. Now let's take a quick look at the public speaking simulation and explore why students love it so much. The public speaking simulation asks students to prepare a speech for a professional conference known as IdeaCon. Over the course of 11 rounds, students will practice the various skills they will need to be effective public speakers. They will prepare and deliver impromptu, persuasive, and informative speeches, practice appropriate body language, analyze third-party speeches, build audience profiles, and much more. During each round of the simulation, students will be expected to check their email inboxes, where they will receive regular updates from their public speaking coach. The inbox provides the information students need to complete their work each round. Students also need to check their notifications hub, where they will respond to questions posed by their colleagues and peers. This is a great self-assessment opportunity for students, as it gives them individualized feedback and helps reinforce the concepts they're learning. The opening rounds of the simulation ask students to complete a set of foundational tasks. Students will practice maintaining their tone, pace, and clarity by reading a children's book excerpt from a teleprompter. Next, they'll analyze a City Hall speech using the Paybox framework, which not only teaches them how to format their speeches, but also how to learn from outside sources. Finally, students will analyze their audience using multi-point criteria, which will help them tailor an appropriate message for the event. Next, the simulation will help students develop their speaking skills by asking them to reorder and record multiple impromptu statements. This feature allows students to upload their videos right into the simulation, which makes it easy for you and for your students to review each speech. Students practice both self and peer evaluation in many rounds, helping them learn from others and improve their own work. After that, students will be provided a third-party speech outline and will be asked to select the best sources to support the speech's main points. This activity bolsters students' source literacy skills and gives them the experience identifying reliable sources. Finally, students will record a final cut of their impromptu speech and review their peers' work. In rounds 6 and 7, students will continue to practice foundational skills while building toward the main event. Students will analyze 3 excellent persuasive speeches, which help them understand how to build and deliver this type of speech. Next, they will outline their own persuasive speeches, find reputable sources to support their arguments, and then record and review their work. The simulation builds student skills over time, allowing them to master the basics before they work on their presentation for the main event. So, in round 7, it's time to put it all together and outline a speech for IdeaCon. Students will develop their speech over the next few rounds of the simulation. In rounds 8 and 9, students will refine their informative speaking skills. Much like the persuasive rounds, students will analyze informative speeches, outline an informative speech, then record practice and final versions to share with you and their peers. In the final rounds of the simulation, students will make their preparations for their IdeaCon presentation. They will draft their remarks, build an engaging slide deck, and record and self-review a practice presentation. Then it's time for the main event. Students will record the final cut of their speech, where they will bring together everything they've learned in the previous 10 rounds. Upon finishing the simulation, students will receive a certificate of completion to showcase on their LinkedIn profiles, thus highlighting their achievements and knowledge. And that's it! Stukent's public speaking simulation is an effective, easy-to-use tool that enhances your students' education. It not only helps your students get hands-on experience with the basic principles in your course, but it also gives them the opportunity to hone their public speaking skills in an engaging environment. If you have any questions or would like to walk through the full public speaking simulation, schedule a demo with a Stukent course consultant today. They can answer any questions you may have and show how the simulation can fit into your curriculum. Don't hesitate to reach out and take the next step in enhancing your students' education. Thanks for joining me today, and enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Garrett. We're excited to see how the public speaking simulation will transform your classrooms and your students' lives. Students love Stukent simulations. If you haven't used a Stukent simulation in your classroom before, here's what a few of our students and professors have said about them.
Stukent's Mimic Pro simulation makes you feel like you're running a marketing campaign with real products.
What I loved most was the hands-on practical exposure of running your own business online.
The students face the same decisions that they would face in the real world.
Students are forced to make real-life scenario-based decisions that they will be using in their everyday career.
Now, I'm excited to talk about our unique courseware, Public Speaking, Learning to Share with Confidence and Purpose. To develop this courseware, we worked with public speaking expert and academic professor Tara Williams. Tara has 15 years of experience teaching public speaking, marketing, and communications at Medicine Hat College in Alberta, Canada. To create this courseware, Tara combined up-to-date resources for you with engaging content for your students. You'll get detailed lesson plans, auto-graded quizzes, lecture slide decks, and more, which allows you to teach public speaking as efficiently and easily as possible. The courseware is packed with workshops, videos, and exercises to get students on their feet and practicing their speaking skills. Plus, it's updated annually, which takes the pain out of keeping your course current. Stukent works with top educators and subject matter experts to develop its courseware. Since our authors are educators, they know what you need to build an effective curriculum for your students. Tara considers the public speaking courseware a platform for the instructor, giving you more space in the classroom to do more things. Now, I'm thrilled to introduce Tara Williams, author of Public Speaking, Learning to Share with Confidence and Purpose. Tara is here to walk you through all the great features of her courseware.
Thank you, Paul. I'm really excited to be here to talk about the public speaking courseware that we have developed with Stukent. It's been a long road of gathering information, and this actually started more than 10 years ago of me doing this. So we had public speaking as a course at my institution, and then we kind of piecemealed it out and put public speaking within a whole bunch of different courses, and it just wasn't getting the results. As I'm sure many of you can understand, it wasn't getting the results that we wanted. The skill set just wasn't there for the students at the end of their experience. And so we pulled it back out and tried to redo this public speaking course. So I was using materials, and I would have materials that would be super academic and all about the models, but there was no integration, and there was limited real good examples that students could touch. And then there was the other side, which had limited academics, but had some great examples and some great application. And so I couldn't find something in the middle. I started building my own material. I, of course, had the big binder of sheets and written and typed and all this huge mess. And my goal was to find a really comprehensive, or build a comprehensive experience for my students, where we had workshops and exercises and examples, so that they have examples while they're reading and they understand while they're reading. And then we come into class and I provide different examples, or we create examples ourselves within workshops. And so just kind of sewing together that interaction between the material, the academics, the application, and not just the days of delivery, but each day in between as well. And so I had built this big binder, and I finally had a dean that came in and said, why don't you just figure out how you can write this on your own? And I happened to be meeting with Stukent about another product, about another course, and chatted with them about public speaking and met their author relations, and sure enough, they were looking for something. And my idea of this integration and this experience, both for the instructor and the student, fit really well with what Stukent does. And so I think that we've really created an interesting product here that can be extremely useful. So we'll go into some of those features of the text and courseware. So some of the features of this, obviously, I feel like it's really good material because there's examples within the text. So students read the text ahead of time. It's online, there's links, they can go watch a video, or there's added videos within just giving examples or written examples. There's workshops within the lesson plans for instructors, as well as videos and videos with workshops. And those are laid out throughout the courseware and proposed course plan that is there for instructors. I find that often people talk about, students need to practice, and they should practice, and we should practice. And I try and provide my students space to practice, whether they show up or not. And I encourage them to video themselves, whether they do or not is totally on them. But with this coupled simulation, it forces students to practice. So the simulation puts them also online. So we have them practicing in an online environment, so they're getting this practice of interviewing online or sharing information online, which sometimes can be a really uncomfortable platform for some people, as opposed to face-to-face or both. But then they're delivering in the classroom as well. So it's kind of forcing some practice on top of students with the simulation, but also achieving that learning objective of getting more comfortable with speaking online as well. But further to that practice is also the ease of communication apprehension. Communication apprehension is ever increasing, and unfortunately the last 3 years, in my eyes, with the students that I have seen, has increased immensely. So there is some increased resources. There's actually a whole chapter on preparing and preparation, and that includes a number of different tools for easing anxiety and becoming more mindful during speaking. There's some videos. There's also a workshop that they could sign up for free through doyogawithme.com, which is like an advanced course on easing anxiety. So lots of opportunity there, and to assist students as a life skill. Public speaking is a life skill, and if we're not helping students ease this anxiety and become more confident in how they share things, then they're just not going to be as successful as they potentially want to be when they leave here. Similar to more recent texts, this public speaking text does have a audience focus. So historically, it was about, being a great speaker and sharing your knowledge, but what it really is now is sharing that knowledge in a consumable way. And so why does the audience care? Why do they want to know? And how do we help create that narrative and delivery in order for the audience to care? And so there is audience analysis, an in-depth audience analysis chapter, but of course is woven throughout the text of how are we going to think about the audience and keep sewing it in. Why would they stay engaged as well? Again, as every Stukent product is edited annually, adding in new perspectives and any new feedback. So if you do have feedback, of course, welcome to add that in, and we will add in new perspectives. We do have how to do a Pechakucha speech, which would be a very fun assignment for some more advanced speakers. We also have a full section on special occasion speaking, coming back to that life skill aspect of students are going to be doing a toast to a friend at a wedding or a family member, or emceeing a wedding or a business event. And so having that foundation, that protocol type information is so, so important. I had a student just this summer that emailed me saying, thank you so much for teaching me how to do a eulogy, because I had to do my dad's this summer. And, not that I want to hear that, but the fact that this information is so incredibly relevant and they felt confident in what they were doing, so they were able to do it is really life-changing, and really is why we're here. So I just want to say thanks to Stukent for putting this together. I feel like, they've been an amazing partner in putting this together, and I look forward to updating it all the time. I'm already working on updating it. I'm already adding in some extra examples of presentation outlines and just building up resources and editing some of the resources, trying to make it as easy as possible for instructors to come in and, of course, deliver it with their skill set and having a foundation for where they can take it from there. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Tara. We really enjoy working with you, and we're thrilled about the success of your courseware and simulation. If you haven't already, please take a minute to request free instructor access to the public speaking courseware and simulation. With instructor access, you'll be able to review the entire courseware, the simulation, lesson plans, assignments, lecture slides, and so much more. Next, I'm excited to introduce you to our business communication courseware and simulation. Here at Stukent, we know how challenging it is to prepare students to step into a future career. That's why we partnered with Elaine Winship and Thomas Winship to create this powerful bundle, which provides you with hundreds of turnkey resources to help you help your students become effective communicators. In just a minute, we're going to take you on a personal tour of the great features in this simulation. The business communication simulation immerses students in an interactive storyline and is designed to pair seamlessly with the accompanying business communication courseware. Students will develop job-seeking skills, compose various types of documents, and practice workplace etiquette. Best of all, the business communication simulation is built with a lot of features to make your life easier, including LMS integration, the Stukent instructor portal, auto-grading, individualized student feedback, and so much more. We aim to give you the resources and tools you need to teach at your best, while giving students the hands-on experience they need to succeed in their future endeavors. So, without further ado, let me introduce Scott Carr, our Director of Marketing Communications. He's going to walk you through our engaging and powerful business communication simulation.
Thanks, Paul. I'm excited to show you Stukent's business communication simulation. This simulation comes with all the amazing resources that we mentioned earlier, including a dedicated support team, LMS integration, an easy-to-use instructor portal, an instructor guide, and more. Now let's take a quick look at the business communication simulation. I'm here to show you how it can help your students apply what they're learning in your classroom to real-world scenarios. The business communication simulation gives students hands-on experience with vital communication skills. In this simulation, students will take on the role of Taylor Williams, a recent university graduate who is working with the Snake River University Career Center to find her first job. Students will follow Taylor on her journey from the classroom into the workforce, helping her make key decisions along the way. As students complete tasks for Taylor, such as securing references, writing resumes, and crafting cover messages, they will also produce these documents for themselves. During each round of the simulation, students will be expected to check their email inboxes, where they will receive regular updates from their Career Center advisor. The inbox provides the information students need to complete their work each round. Students will also need to check their notifications hub, where they will respond to questions posed by their colleagues and peers. This is a great self-assessment opportunity for students, as it gives them individualized feedback and helps reinforce the concepts they're learning. In the first 3 rounds of the business communication simulation, students will identify and secure professional references, dissect job descriptions, and create resumes and cover messages. They'll practice doing these activities on Taylor's behalf, then create their own suite of application materials. These rounds prepare students for their own job search and help them graduate with a resume, references, and cover messages in hand. Next, students will prepare for and participate in 2 employment interviews, one with a student advisor at the Career Center and another with a hiring manager at Bowie Supply Co., a bag and backpack e-commerce retailer. These video interviews allow students to interact with an AI interviewer, one who demonstrates the kinds of questions students can expect to be asked. The simulation will also model good, better, and best responses and provide students with real-time feedback on their choices. This feature helps students to understand how to effectively address questions in an interview. The practice will help them be more confident in a real one too. After completing the second interview, students will compose and send a formal thank you email to the Bowie interviewer on Taylor's behalf. Taylor lands an assistant marketing manager position at Bowie. Your students will help her prepare for her first week on the job by practicing her communication skills. In the final round of the simulation, students will help Taylor create a presentation and an updated elevator pitch that will help her share her work with the Bowie team. Students will then have the opportunity to reflect on their experience in the simulation, allowing them to gain insights into their journey and prepare to move forward into a career. Upon finishing the simulation, students will receive a certificate of completion to showcase on their LinkedIn profiles, thus highlighting their achievements. The business communication simulation truly helps your students make the transition from your classroom into their future careers. It helps them practice their communication skills and standard business etiquette in a safe, simulated environment, all without making more work for you. It's a powerful tool that increases both the effectiveness of your course and the efficacy of your prep time. If you have any questions or would like to walk through the full business communication simulation, schedule a demo with a Stukent course consultant today. They can answer any questions that you may have and help you see how the simulation can fit into your curriculum. Don't hesitate to reach out and take the next step in enhancing your students' education. Thank you for joining me and enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Scott. We're excited for everyone to jump into the business communication simulation and see how it elevates your students' communication skills. Before we hear from our business communication authors, this is just a reminder that we'll be hosting a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions about the public speaking or business communication bundles, chat them in. Now, I'm pleased to introduce Elaine Winship and Thomas Winship, the authors of Business Communication Through College and Career Courseware. Elaine Winship is a professor of communication at St. Thomas Aquinas College, with more than 20 years of experience in the field. Thomas Winship is a professor of business at the State University of New York. Like Elaine, Thomas brings more than 20 years of experience to this courseware. Elaine and Thomas are also married, and sometimes they joke that their greatest accomplishment is finishing this courseware without ending their relationship. The Winships have created an incredible suite of resources for you and your students. Your students will learn the difference between written, verbal, nonverbal, and visual media, develop job-seeking skills such as resume writing and interviewing, and create presentations, letters, memos, reports, and proposals. This courseware also gives you ready-made resources such as lesson plans and lecture slide decks, taking the hassle out of creating an effective course. And since these materials are updated annually, they align with the industry to better prepare your students to get jobs out of college. Now let's hear from Elaine and Thomas on how their courseware can provide an innovative approach to teaching business communication.
Hi, I'm Elaine Winship.
I'm Tom Winship.
And we are the authors of Business Communication Through College and Career. And we are so excited to speak with you today about our courseware and the Mimic Business Communication Simulation bundle. And we believe that this courseware is revolutionary and innovative and unique within the marketplace. And most importantly, we believe it brings immediate value to you, the educator, as you're preparing and putting together your course. And then, of course, it also brings immediate value and ongoing value to your students. As educators, we know that at the end of the day, we're in this because we want our students to succeed. And we really believe that our courseware will have an impact on students that will last them a lifetime. So we want to run through a couple of things today to help you better understand the intricacies of both our courseware and the simulation and how they work very well together to help you and your students.
Well, one of the ways that we believe our courseware really helps the instructor, which then by default helps the students, is that when you take a look at things that are skill-based, it often makes sense, in particular in our world, to approach them in a step-by-step or a chronological fashion that makes it easy to break down into digestible pieces, to cover in ways that the students can then grapple with, question, understand, and begin to then apply and hopefully master. So all of the skill-based content in our course, whether we're talking about writing an email, putting together a blog post, writing letters, drafting proposals, all the way out through the job search or the components of the job search and the interview process, all the way out through business presentations, are constructed in a way that follows a simple, or as simple as it can be, step-by-step chronological fashion, which then, as I said earlier, makes it easy, or we believe makes it easy for you as the educators to share that information, to reinforce that information, and then allow students to kind of grapple with that ultimately in the process.
I think that we can all agree as educators that when we search for our ideal textbook or courseware, it's hard to find. I can't tell you how many different texts that both Tom and I have researched and used, and we found ourselves simply pulling chapters out, reversing chapters. I used to start with chapter 14 and 13 and then go backwards, and students were confused. They didn't understand why we were doing this, and we were frustrated because it was a constant reorganization, organizing, rethinking, and that's supplementing.
Right?
That's really important.
Lots of supplementing.
Adding things here, adding things there. It just from an educator's perspective, that is something that we wanted to take away, remove that part from the very full plate of a instructor, professor.
And the simulation is an amazing supplement that offers opportunity for the students to really begin to apply some of these things, which can obviously be handled via traditional assignments, but there's something about that additional level of interaction. And then when you couple it with advanced kind of AI technology and a lot of opportunities for engagement, the feedback from the students has been absolutely overwhelming about how much they enjoyed it and preferred it and loved it. And of course, with the proof being in the pudding, that when we compare kind of the end results of what they're able to do or what they're able to submit or what they're able to kind of display or demonstrate at the end of a semester versus before we use that, it isn't just that it was nice and it was engaging or it was new and kind of shiny and sparkling.
Yes.
It actually provided an enormous amount of benefit to that. So we think that the two really work amazingly well together.
Coming up with a topic, designing a presentation, and then delivering that presentation. This is an enormous undertaking, and it's why most traditional textbooks that are on the market right now just sort of give it a wave. They don't do much with it. Our courseware takes that really complex but so ultimately important skill, because it just transfers over to every other aspect of communicating in the business world. And it makes it easier for the student to understand and easier for the educator to teach. So instead of just talking about it and reading about it, the students, you're talking about it, they're reading about it, they're practicing it, then you're talking about it and maybe practicing it again in your classroom presentations. So that's a really great example that we have found when we have taught with our own courseware using the Mimic Business Communication. The skill sets that in the past may have taken us 2 or 3 weeks to handle are now really getting done in a much more efficient and effective way. Students are picking up these things much more quickly and finding it enjoyable, which is, of course, an added benefit. That's the gravy on the mashed potatoes. So we hope that gives you some insight into how this courseware can help you as an educator. And we know that it's very, very hard to get through an entire textbook, and no matter who writes it. And I think that this helps with that. You can manage your time more effectively. And we all know as educators, that's something that we struggle with all the time.
Sure.
So the next thing that we want to discuss is just the other really unique aspect of our courseware and our simulation is just the fact that we haven't found any other textbook on the marketplace or in the marketplace that incorporates experiential learning. So in our courseware, students will learn skills and then apply them in real world situations, versus in our competitors' textbooks, they will read about skills and not have that application. So they're just simply reading and writing about things that they will ultimately have to use from a skill standpoint. And we all know that that's just not how the real world works. So some examples of some of these experiential learning exercises that you may find interesting and students have reported to find or have found so impactful and life-changing for them are some such as the mock interview or job search exercise. So we hope that gives you a colleague to colleague, professor to professor, instructor to instructor framework or perspective on our courseware. We want to invite anyone who teaches courses like this or is thinking about teaching business communication courses to reach out to us at any time.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to
especially
hear
if
from
you.
you.
If you have questions, or if you try it, and what the feedback is from you, your students, your institution.
One of the things
absolutely.
that's so wonderful about this courseware is that we will update it every single year. And that's one of the wonderful things about Stukent courseware in general. But in order to do that, we want to make sure that we're keeping our clients or our end user, which is really you, really satisfied with the product. So let us know what you think and what ideas you have.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Elaine and Thomas. As you can tell, they are so passionate about this courseware, and they've done an amazing job with the courseware. I want to invite you, if you haven't done so already, to take the opportunity, click the link on your screen, and request free instructor access to the business communication courseware. With instructor access, you'll be able to review the entire courseware, the simulation, lesson plans, lecture slides, and so much more. So be sure and check that out. Now we've set aside some time for a question and answer session. And so I want to invite all of our participants to join me right now on the stage. While they're joining us, I want to let you know that if you're interested in innovating with Stukent and becoming a partner and helping us improve our public speaking or our business communication courseware, please click the link on your screen right now and see if you're a good fit to become an innovation partner here at Stukent. All right, it looks like everyone's coming on. So I want to reintroduce Elaine and Thomas Winship, Tara Williams for public speaking, and then we have Levi Gruel, our Vice President of Sales here at Stukent. And so what we're going to do is we have some questions that were already submitted. And so I'm going to start with those, but go ahead if you have additional questions, put them in the chat and we'll get to those later. All right. So my first question is for the business communication courseware. And the question is, what makes business communication through college and career different from any of the other business communication texts on the market?
Do you want to take it? Go ahead.
I'll take it, I guess. So
I'll interrupt.
Yeah, I think there are
Inevitably.
a variety of reasons why, but the first one that comes to mind is simply the structure of the table of contents and just the content of the book, because we wanted to mirror that journey of a student into that professional world. It really changes the approach of how you structure that content and the information and how you work through it. And of course, that then trickles down into the actual assignments and all the details of that. But we, in all the years of teaching business communication, have yet to encounter a book that approached it from that philosophical approach or that chronological approach.
Yes.
But to us, it just seemed to make sense. And that even in the video, Elaine alluded to the fact that that was part of the reorganization that we always struggled with, was to have that kind of approach. So it was nice to be able to do that. And I think from there, the benefits then kind of roll out of some of that similar approach. Well, there's a lot of skill-based activities that have to happen to be effective within business communication. And we take approaches to kind of break it down into step-by-step practical components that makes it easy for the instructor to then share that information, makes it easy, hopefully, for students to be able to understand, digest it, and then be able to kind of apply it. So it's really driven by practicality above and beyond anything else.
Yeah, and students get results. They get internships, they get jobs. And I think that's pretty rewarding for us as educators, but even more so for the students taking the classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Tara, I'm going to go ahead and ask you the same question. What makes the public speaking courseware different from anything else on the market?
Thank you. That I touched on with the team the other day. I think that there's two real extremes on the market. There's one that's quite handbook based, and so it's limited in academic rigor. And then on the other side, it's intensive academic rigor and not as much application and real life examples. And so I think where this one fits is right in that middle piece, right? It has the academic foundation and then those examples and those real life applications and then the integration in the classroom. So I think that this content, and I call it like a comprehensive package for the instructor and the student, that everything is in there and integrated for them.
Great, thank you. This next question could be answered by any of you. The question is, why would we need the simulation when the courseware has all the workshops and interactions within it?
Go ahead, Tara. We'll jump on after you say it.
For public speaking, for me, the way that I run my class is that I need them to talk all the time, right? The more comfortable that they get within that classroom and just speaking regularly, the better they're going to be as they leave. But our reality, as we see right in this moment, is this. Mm-hmm. And there's a huge portion of this online talking and this online communication, and I don't have time for that within my other pieces that I distribute. So the simulation brings that and adds that whole other element that they need, they have to get comfortable with. And so it forces them to get more comfortable in this online space. And I do talk about job interviews and, having those online job interviews as well. And we discuss that aspect too. So I don't know if your answer is consistent with.
We're familiar with public speaking. We teach those courses as well. So and knowing Stukent and how the sim works with the courseware, I think you're right on target, Tara. For us, I think one of the amazing things that we see happening in our classes as we teach with the simulation is just the ability to reinforce. And so I'm prepping students to do a mock interview in the classroom. And prior to that, they get to practice how to answer questions and how to actually interview, like you said, via Zoom or Google Meet, so to speak. And then they come into the classroom and do the interview. So it's just such a great lock-in. And I don't know if that's the best word to describe it, but it's what I think of when everything comes together, like a piece of the puzzle that's been missing all of these years from the way we've been teaching.
Sure.
And I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Well, when you just add in just a level of technological, engagement that the average student is used to in their everyday lives, it only makes sense to incorporate as much engagement and technology through that. And of course, then even your tactile learners and your visual learners, you're helping them to be able to be able to play with and master the material far better than just listening to us lecture.
And I always go back to the students. The students love the simulation. I'd like to say they love us as instructors and presenters and professors in the same way, but they are so used to that environment. So they really enjoy, it's like a game for them.
And I'll say, you mentioned the word reinforce. The thing I love about the opportunity to bundle a simulation with the courseware that each of y'all have built is the idea that it puts them in as close to a real world scenario.
Yes.
Where now, to your point, they learn about it in the classroom. They get put in these very specific scenarios with assignments and projects and activities that are all skill based. But now they enter a simulation where they're placed into this scenario, right? Where, hey, you just got hired by this company. And now you have to apply these skills that you've been talking about in the classroom. Right. And then, as a sales leader, whenever I hire new team members who have really applicable experience, they come in like, oh, I dealt with a scenario very similar to this. I know exactly what I should go do. And I go, oh, that's wonderful. That alleviates a lot of, the burden and stress as a leader or as a manager. And so now you're setting up students to be successful at the start of their first real job or real internship that they're getting through their education. because they're in this kind of almost like simulated internship, you could even say, right? Where they get in and get to apply it in this scenario.
It's actually more.
And so it really does.
I agree with you. And that was great. But it's even more. Our students are actually experiencing the same exact thing at the same exact time in their life that the person in our simulation is going through. So it's relatable as well. They're like, oh, Taylor chose that job and not that job. That's interesting. So there's also that aspect to it, which we always forget to say.
Well, it does make
but
it
students
easy
are like,
to-
wow, Taylor's just like me.
Right.
So it's just a very relatable experience for them. Yeah. And then some of them are like, wait, I better get on board like Taylor's doing in the sim because I haven't thought about this yet. So there's that weird.
The only
connection.
thing missing is.
I think that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tara.
Tara.
I was just going to say, I think that bodes well with any course in simulation, and back to the last question as well, which is how is this different?
Yes.
And sometimes students are sitting in the classroom and they're like, why is this relevant?
So
This isn't
true.
real
Yes.
life. I'm like, well, actually it is real life, and you're showing them that it is, even though it is simulation, and even though you're, creating this, it's reinforcing that this is going to be their future as well, and they are going to have to use these skills.
Right. Like it or not. Really, when it comes to public speaking and business presentations and writing emails, like it or not, they have to go on lots of interviews in their career, and they're going to have to do many presentations despite what they want to believe is going to happen. Right.
Well, and I'm sure you get it from the accounting students, which are like, I don't want to, I'm not going to have to present.
Right.
I'm not going to have to communicate. Are you kidding me?
Right.
You are the foundation of negative communication.
Right.
You need to figure out how to do
The
it.
accounting students, the
finance,
the CIS students, all the ones that are going to go into
art
IT.
students, yeah.
They think they won't need these skills.
Yeah,
They
and
won't need
hopefully
the skills, right?
they quote unquote make the mistake in the simulated environment. So when they get that big interview that's for that job they really want, or they're standing in their first executive meeting as a newly hired controller, and they have to do the presentation, they're not like, oh, I hope I don't mess this one up, I hope this isn't the guinea pig, right? The simulation becomes that trial run where it's like, oh, I realized what I did wrong there. So when it's real life, I have a better chance of actually nailing it from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for sharing those answers. Obviously, you're very passionate about this, and it's great to hear how real life and how applicable the simulations are to your students. This next question can also be asked of all of you. How does your courseware help instructors in their course preparation and planning? Why don't we start with the Winships on this one?
I was going to say, let's start with Tara because we kind of already answered this, but it's probably right along the same lines as what Tara's going to say and what I heard in some of the Tara's video. There's so much to do in courses like public speaking and business communication, and there's never enough time. And I think the way that we've organized our textbook helps the course flow much more efficiently, and that also allows us to do more with our students in the class during class time. Would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I would add that we worked really hard to eliminate extraneous information.
Yes.
That many times in business communication textbooks and public speaking textbooks, to devote an entire chapter to a topic that doesn't necessarily warrant it for the sake of having it be a chapter represents either a wasted opportunity, wasted time, some combination thereof, not to mention the mixed message to a student that if you're devoting, let's say, an entire week to this topic that doesn't really seem to need that week, how do they know what's the more important thing of the 2 or the 3 or the 10 that you're covering? So we worked really hard to take and I used the word practical earlier, a practical approach, a very streamlined, and we look for efficiency and effectiveness in saying like, it's hit this topic, be very effective at what you are covering, sharing, and then get out of there and on to the next one. And ultimately, and I know, and of course we came out of the business world, so we're somewhat conditioned to look at things from a productivity and efficiency standpoint. But I know as an instructor, I think that would help me to say, okay, so there, if it only requires 5 pages of information to cover this, I don't have to wade through 20 pages to try to pick out the things
like
that are
that
important.
digestible bites, which I think is what we were looking for. But still doing a good job with each topic. I don't know if Tara feels the same way.
Yeah, definitely within the same realm of just making sure that what's important is shown as important. Within the courseware, within my courseware, there's a lot of videos of explanation, links to videos. So it helps the student understanding the information as they're going through it.
Right.
But then as an instructor, the lesson plans and stuff, they have a lot of workshops, and the workshops build on one another, especially impromptu workshops.
Right.
And so there's a lot of ideas in there. And sometimes as an instructor, I don't know about other people's workloads. Our workloads up here in the colleges are pretty heavy, that you just can't come up with that stuff. Like, or you're marking resumes till 10 at night the night before, because that is the worst thing to mark ever. And then it's so important. And then the next day you need to come up with like some integrative workshop, and it's hard. And at least when there's a foundation there's some great ideas. There's places to jump off of. And I think for me personally, that is extremely valuable as an instructor, that, it's we start of February. I'm already tired. And so just having that assistance is really valuable and keeps you engaged too, keeps you innovative, keeps you going, right? Because the semester is going to get long here.
Absolutely. We feel the same way. I'm in week 3 and I'm ready to hang it up. But I think what we take for granted is so many of the workshops and exercises that we put so much work into and would supplement with the older textbooks that we used. Now they're in the book. So if you're teaching this course, it's not set it and forget it, but they really can.
Be, if you absolutely want.
Yeah, they just like you said, Tara, folks using our courseware and the simulation really don't have to put extra energy into thinking up creative ways or exercises or projects, or like you say, workshops to reinforce things. And I think that's very valuable. And we always take that for granted because it's always been there for us. But I love that you highlighted that. Our books do that. And we have to talk about that more.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Levi, I know you work with instructors every day. Do you have anything to add of how this benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. So Tom mentioned something that I think is really powerful. He said, we come from business, right? Yeah. And so Tom and Elaine and Tara, they bring a perspective into their courseware that's really powerful in the sense that they know what needs to happen in the real world, but they're able, because of their experience in academics, be able to deliver it in a package that makes sense in a course setting, right? There's oftentimes that gap of like, hey, here's what we need to know in the real world, but how do you actually deliver it in an engaging way that makes sense in a potentially like a 50-minute, class 3 times a week? Like, how do you actually deliver that? And Tom and Elaine and Tara, they're able to build out course materials, like they mentioned, to support every educator in a variety of shapes and sizes of classes, to deliver it in a very powerful, practical way that truly prepares students for life outside of just getting a grade in the course, but actually, how do we apply this in the real world? And that's a really difficult thing to do, but hands off to the 3 of them, and the feedback so far as we work with different educators has been just that it really does lend a lot of support and structure and strength for the educators that to all 3 of y'all's point are spread thin, and there's a lot expected of you as an educator, and y'all have built a tremendous resource for these educators to build their courses off of.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. That's why we wrote the book, because of that deficit in the market. And Tara, I'm sure you'll attest to this. The textbooks out there, they miss the point in that way. They need to show students the WIFM. I'm sure you talk about that. What's in it for them? Why should I read this textbook? Do the simulation? How is it going to benefit me when I leave this particular setting, this educational setting? And I think that we do that well. And I thank you for noticing. Thanks for noticing.
Great. Well, I have just a couple questions left before we wrap up today. This one's a bit of a technical question, I believe, Levi. I'm going to direct this to you.
Oh, Joy.
Joy asked, how do you work with First Day Complete?
Yeah. So, normally we would hop on a one-on-one call and ask some more in-depth questions to better understand exactly, what your goals are and what you're looking to get out of that type of partnership with First Day Complete. But we absolutely work with bookstores to help that goal be accomplished. First Day Access, Inclusive Access, however your program or bookstore calls it. We definitely do work one-on-one in those scenarios. So if we just hop on a quick call at some point, we can talk through that and make sure it's all set up prior to the fall semester or summer semester or this spring if you really wanted to,
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever suits your fancy.
Perfect. Thank you. One last question for the authors. What is there to ensure that students are actually practicing?
I don't know if I understand the question.
Yeah.
What can I feel like a student.
What is there to ensure?
It's relevant for.
I think it might be referring to the simulation, maybe.
Yeah, I think
that they're
simulation
actually practicing.
Adds that in for sure. And I think that's quite relevant for public speaking specifically, because we often tell students to practice their speeches and blah, 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 and practice. I'm sure you guys tell them practice your interview questions, say them out loud, and the simulation adds that element to it force the student to practice. Also, from practicing public speaking perspective, there's nothing I hate more than recording myself speaking and then watching it, but I make my students do it. And so I integrate some of that into my projects as well, not only the simulation, but getting them to record themselves, self-evaluate, and then build on that assignment and redo that presentation again. So I've built quite a bit of that into the course plan, but it's also a part of that simulation. That simulation is what forces them to do it, no matter how much we say it and how much we say that it is valuable to do, that they avoid doing it.
And I'll add to that. I think because of the simulation, I'm able to do more practice in the classroom. So I'm forcing students to practice taking their job ad and dissecting it in front of me. I'm forcing the students to write emails in the classroom. And then we dissect those emails. I'm forcing the students, and I say forcing very deliberately because they go with their heads down, and usually by the end they like it. I do an in-class mock interview experience that is very intense. So they're practicing every aspect of business communication inside of the classroom, and the simulation in my world is just an extra hand to help them prepare for those practice sessions that are live. And it's just been, as I said in the video, it's transformative for students. They say, what would I do if I didn't know any of this stuff? What would I do if I didn't take this class? Well, you did, and now you're much more marketable, and you have a leg up on all of the folks in the world in your same position that aren't taking classes like this. Yeah. So I guess that's my answer.
But I think the key is that we don't trust students
to practice
on
their own.
Right, you force them to practice. They're essentially, it's really assignments. We can call it practice, but you're forcing them to do it either in front of you, through the sim, with something that they have to prove that they did it. So we force them to practice. That's what it comes down to.
Putting in that accountability. I teach business communication as well, that has in it mock interviews and the like. And I set up mock interviews with my students with business people in the community. And so I send them out, and it is a logistical nightmare.
You know what happens?
Setting it all up.
Come in.
We
That's
bring
what
them
we
on
do.
Campus. Yeah.
So get a couple of.
I send them out. I want them to go there. I want them to make sure they're on time. I want because then they show up half an hour late. But you know what? When they really do it, they don't show up late.
Yeah, that's a logistical nightmare.
Yeah,
and there are liability issues. I know that my school, they won't even let our students cross the street. So
ours is a little like that too, but I don't ask for permission. I ask for forgiveness. So don't do
that works a lot.
Yeah,
but it goes back to Levi's. I think it goes back to Levi's point too, though, is that then they find out what they did not great, and then they don't do that again. So even walking into an interview and having sunglasses on their head or having gum in their mouth, or if they freeze up, same with public speaking, if they're freezing up, I always tell them, I'm like, do it here. Who cares? Like, we'll walk you through it. We'll get you through that next part. You just don't want that to happen when you're in the actual job interview.
Right.
And that's why there's so much of doing that work that you guys do as well within the classroom, because we want that to happen here. It's a safe space. And so it's also part of, and there's a lot of this in the start of my courseware, of creating that culture within the classroom too, that is so important, because we are going to be really vulnerable here. This is a vulnerable topic. And so we want people to, you're going to feel uncomfortable. And so how do we figure that out as a group is so important.
Tara, we need to connect, and we need to read each other's books and possibly use each other's books. And I'm serious about that, because it sounds like we are very in alignment. And I find that with all of the folks at Stukent. It was in one of the videos, we're like-minded people. And we want, the mission of the company is just so simple and so true. We really all want students to succeed and go out there and change the world. And we find that gratifying. I think that's why we do this. I'm sure Tara will attest to that. It's not for the gigantic paychecks. It's more for the personal satisfaction. But let's connect. And thank you, Stukent, for bringing us together with this wonderful author.
Yeah. Thank you for your responses. This has been so great. You're all very passionate about what you do, and it shows. And we're just so happy to work with you. I want to finish up with one last question, and I want to ask it to Levi. Levi, if there's someone out there who wants to take the next step, who says, I want to use this courseware, what is the next step for them?
Oh, that's my favorite question. You ended with a good one. There we go. I was scared for a minute there. Yeah, absolutely. So in order to make sure that we can best be prepared for your course in the fall semester, we just want to connect for a quick conversation via Zoom. I think Abigail put a link in the chat here a few minutes ago, stukent.com/schedule-a-demo. It allows us to make sure we understand how many students are in your course. Are there multiple instructors that are going to be teaching your course? Right. Do we need to work with your bookstore and things like inclusive access? Do we need to work on things like LMS integration? And a lot of those things, like we all know, take some time. And so we want you just to be able to hop on a quick call, ask you a few questions to make sure that we're doing our work to be prepared for you when you want to use it. And so we have a little form we have you filled out called an order form that gives us a lot of that information. So if you have 15 or 20 minutes this week or next week, please just hop on a call with us. Let us help you get some of those logistics sorted out, and then we'll be ready for you come summer or fall semester.
Great.
Sounds great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and taking time to be with us today. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Elaine and Tom. Thank you, Levi. This question and answer session was amazing. You guys really delivered the passion and gave some good detail. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Garrett and Scott, for walking us through the demos, and thank you to the entire Stukent team for your help. We want to thank each one of you for joining us today, and thank you for your continued support, and ask that you have a wonderful day, and that we want to remind you to keep current always with Stukent. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Nice to meet
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thanks.